Stephen was sweet while we were dating, but after we got married, he started to verbally abuse me along with his stepchild, Sarah. I endured their behavior while saving up for Sarah's college fund. Eventually, we received her college acceptance letter and decided to celebrate it along with Stephen's promotion. Returning from shopping, I found bags filled with my books and clothes dumped in the yard. In the bedroom, Stephen, Sarah, and my mother-in-law, Lauren, were stuffing my belongings into garbage bags. "Please leave quickly. We don't have enough room to invite Grandma over because you are taking up space." "That's right. We don't need a loser. We'll just take the college money, though." Stephen laughed, shaking his shoulders. "A lowlife earning $20 an hour. Get out, useless Nicole. Goodbye." I reached my limit. "I'll leave then." I went to the yard and moved the remaining bags to my car. Sitting in the driver's seat, tears of frustration welled up. I bit my lip and made a silent vow. "I won't let this go. Remember this. I am Nicole, a 50-year-old housewife. I met Stephen, then 40, through work 10 years ago. As a shy person, Stephen's friendly and cheerful demeanor seemed so bright. When he confessed, I was surprised but happy. He revealed on one of our dates that he had an 8-year-old daughter. Though initially shocked as I only knew about his divorce, I quickly warmed up to Sarah, who was affectionate and innocent. We had a simple wedding and our married life started smoothly, but that happiness didn't last. I lost my parents to illness as a student and was raised by my Uncle Kevin and Aunt Tiffany, who owned a business. After accepting Stephen's proposal, I introduced him to Kevin and Tiffany. After getting their approval for our marriage, we then had a family meeting. When I told them I was raised by Kevin and Tiffany, Lauren clearly looked displeased. Perhaps that's one reason why, after getting married, Lauren started making snide remarks at me. She would show up unannounced and criticize me. "Nicole, there's a single hair in the corner of the stairs. The bathroom mirror is dirty. Don't you clean it every day?" Then she'd roll her eyes and say, "Working when you have a young child? Lauren, these days everyone works even with small children." I switched to part-time so I could be home when Sarah returns. Lauren glared at me as I gently countered, "Talking back to your mother-in-law? How cheeky." I hadn't asked about Stephen's reason for divorce, but I wondered if Lauren's harassment was to blame. "Well, Mom, if both of us work, we can save for Sarah's college fund faster." Initially, Stephen took my side, but over the years he began to verbally abuse me like Lauren. "Coming home from work halfway through the day, and this is the meal you prepare? Don't you care to comfort me when I come home from work tired? I'm sorry, but preparing 3 dishes aside from the main course every day is tough. You're just lazy. Everyone does it." Lauren, who was a housewife, never used store-bought prepared foods and forbade me from using them too. So I made time to prepare meals after the family went to bed or on weekends. Just when I thought the issue was resolved, Stephen said, "I want to save money, so I will bring packed lunch to work." Of course, I had to prepare it, and as expected, he complained about the packed lunches too. Bread with nothing on it for lunch is lazy. Preparing everything is hard. Don't talk back. You're just a wife. You know I hate simple meals. "Is this your way of annoying me?" Stephen yelled. "Simple packed lunches are banned from now on. No way. A wife's duty is to think of the family's health when preparing meals. Do you want to make me and Sarah sick? What a terrible woman." "I'm sorry, I understand. I'll do it from now on." Arguing only led to hours of more complaints, so complying obediently would be much better. My personal time was reduced again, but I had no other choice. Secretly, I had a hobby. After Sarah and Stephen went to bed, I jotted down various ideas in a notebook, fantasizing about inventions and fun products. This hobby was a secret from both of them. Thinking of convenient or entertaining products was a perfect way to relieve stress. It wasn't just Lauren and Stephen who complained about me. Initially, Sarah seemed innocent and adorable, but by the age of 10, she had become selfish. Depending on her mood, she'd be sweet or demand extra allowance. Then she'd insult me in front of her friends, ignore me, or yell. Being manipulated by Sarah's moods was exhausting. Seeing Stephen mistreat me, she began to mimic him for fun. It's just puberty to Sarah and just the woman her dad brought home. It's natural for her to rebel. If she didn't warm up to me, I figured I just had to try harder to get along. So I made efforts to gain Sarah's acceptance. Instead of immediately scolding her for misbehavior, I tried to empathize with her feelings. When she insulted me, when I didn't snap back angrily, but calmly explained it's not right to speak to elders that way. I always made it to school events and checked homework after coming home from work. If she got sick, I took her to the doctor and took off work to care for her. I had no experience in raising children. Even though she wasn't my biological child, I poured my love into her because she was the child of the man I loved. However, it seemed my efforts didn't reach Sarah. As Sarah entered high school, she started taking packed lunches. Unlike Steven's hearty lunches, being a teenager, she preferred something healthier. I woke up at 5 a.m. every day to prepare their packed lunches, putting macaroni and cheese in mine. Tomorrow, I'll have hamburger steak, please. They would request different dishes, which made it quite challenging. Yet they often came home with their lunches untouched. When asked why, they casually said, "I felt like eating out today," or "suddenly craved some bread. I wake up at 5 a.m. to make these. I wish you'd eat at least some of it," I said. This made them grumpy. "Nicole, you change your mind about things too, right? Don't nag. It's annoying. A mom is supposed to make her kids packed lunches, right?" Sarah's tone, more hostile than Steven's, hurt me. "Sorry, my apology only encouraged even more complaints. Don't act all high and mighty just because you made packed lunches. They're not even that great." "Exactly. You should be thankful we eat them at all." They constantly complained about the lunches being too vegetable-heavy or too flavorful. I felt more sadness than anger. Talking to Sarah and Steven always left me feeling miserable because of their attitudes. The promise to share household chores made at the beginning of our marriage was quickly forgotten. Nicole works too, but since she comes home at noon, it doesn't really count as working. We come home in the evening. It's only natural for the person with the most free time to do the chores. I don't have free time at all. Time flies by while I prepare dinner after coming home. My pleas fell on deaf ears. On weekends, they would either be glued to their mobile phones on the couch or locked in their rooms gaming. I seemed invisible to them as I bustled about. "Nicole, make me some tea. I want coffee. Bring it to the living room. I'm gaming with Sarah." Sarah still doesn't call me Mom, just by my name. "Could you help me a bit? I have a gathering with friends after dinner." When I finally spoke up, Steven clicked his tongue. "What? Let us rest on weekends, will you? You see, I'm playing with Dad right now. Planning to disturb our bonding time?" "Oh, right. You're an outsider." The word outsider stabbed at my heart like a blade. "What's with that look? Got a problem?" Steven shouted. "Who do you think allows you to live in this house? A disposable part-timer like you? Standing up to me is a century too early." Faced with attacks from both of them, I bit my lip and held back my complaints. Despite Steven's ranting, as a middle manager in a small to medium enterprise, his income isn't high. He earns more than me, a part-timer, but that's about it. Steven's dominance might also stem from him managing our finances. Before we got married, I confessed my lack of confidence in handling money. "Then I'll manage it. That way Nicole can relax." Fooled by his refreshing smile, I agreed to hand over my entire salary to Steven. He was supposed to allocate funds for living expenses and Sarah's college from our combined salaries. Though Steven's salary has increased over the years, our living allowance has mysteriously shrunk lately. I'm only handed $1,000. Half goes into savings for college, and the rest is for groceries and daily necessities. I need at least another $500. Plus, I want some money that I can spend freely. "You don't need money to spend freely, Nicole. Deposit the $500 for Sarah's education costs into the bank account first. I'll check it every month." I stood my ground against Steven's commands. "You often buy luxury watches and brand suits, right? You nag me to save money and hesitate to spend. Yet it seems you give Sarah quite a lot. Why can't I have things I want?" I desperately pleaded my case to Steven. "I work too. It's ridiculous that I need Steven's permission to buy clothes or go to the salon. Sarah and I have social obligations." "Nicole, you don't need to worry about socializing. Dressing up is a waste of money." Sarah joined in happily. "Children cost money. Don't complain then. I'll increase my work hours. The extra can be my money, right?" "That's out of the question. You can't even manage household chores perfectly as it is. What if you neglect them more? Mom would be against it too," mentioning Lauren. I gave up on arguing. "It's hard for me. someone who is not articulate and timid, to stand up to the three of them. Yet somewhere in my heart, I harbored a faint hope. If Sarah got accepted into college and started enjoying her college life, maybe her attitude towards me would soften. Seeing Sarah happily attending college with the money I saved, perhaps Stephen would start respecting me more. But my hopes were quickly dashed. Sarah's acceptance letter arrived a few days later. At Stephen's announcement, Sarah cheered, "Dad, you're becoming a manager. That's so cool." "It's confirmed. The salary and bonus are going to skyrocket," Stephen said. I listened with a disheartened feeling. None of that money would come my way. I was destined to be forced into saving as always. "Great. Buy me a branded bag to celebrate," Sarah said. "Of course. Let's invite Mom over tomorrow for a celebration dinner. Nicole, you prepare the party. It's got to be homemade," Stephen added. Watching the two of them call Lauren, I sighed. But this time, it seemed like I might enjoy some peace without the usual snide remarks. The next day, I went shopping at the supermarket to prepare roast beef and a cake. Despite the unfortunate rain, Sarah and Stephen were in high spirits from the morning. Arriving home and getting out of the car, I glanced at the yard and tilted my head in confusion. Open garbage bags were being hit by the rain, left unattended. That wasn't there when we left. Feeling a bad premonition, I went to check the bags and was shocked. Inside were my clothes. I hurriedly tied the bags and entered the house to confront Stephen and Sarah. Noticing that Lauren seemed to be around, I heard noises from the upstairs bedroom and rushed up. I found Stephen, Sarah, and Lauren cheerfully throwing my books and clothes into garbage bags. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "Oh, you're back? Isn't it obvious? We're throwing away trash. Nicole's stuff is all cheap anyway." They continued their task. I snatched the garbage bags from the three of them. "Stop it. Don't do this without asking." "It's fine. You served your purpose," they said. "What?" I was stunned. The three of them chimed in excitedly. "We've already sent the college entrance fee, right? And saved up $70,000 for the tuition till graduation. Your role of providing money is over. It's impressive how you saved so much on a $20 per hour wage." I stared at Stephen, dumbfounded. Why is he acting like it's his achievement? Stephen continued smugly. "After kicking out my ex-wife, the plan was to live with Mom. But first, we thought of saving up for college and finding a compliant woman to save money. Sarah and I didn't have to. Nicole seemed compliant enough and just right for a housekeeper." "But Dad, you were wrong," Sarah pouted. "This woman couldn't do housework perfectly and lectured me, though she's an outsider and was useless." Lauren glared at me as if in agreement. "He married you, who has no parents. You should be more grateful to Stephen, but all you did was complain." It seemed surrounded by the three. They freely insulted me. "So please leave quickly. With you here, we don't have enough rooms and Grandma can't live with us." "Exactly. We don't need a failure like you. We'll just take the money." Pushing the garbage bag towards me, Stephen smirked. "A low-wage bottom feeder. Get out, useless Nicole. Bye-bye." I reached my limit. "Fine, I'll leave." I gathered my valuables, transferred my clothes and books from the garbage bags to a suitcase, and left the room. I stopped by the yard to move the rain-soaked bags into my car. Sitting in the driver's seat, tears of frustration overflowed. Stephen never had any affection for me from the start. A housekeeper and a role of providing money. How much more could he belittle me? Fury nearly drove me mad. Biting my lip, I made a silent vow. I won't let this go. Remember this. Desperate to get away from those three, I drove a bit before stopping to call Kevin. After I explained everything in detail, Kevin was furious and immediately arranged for an empty room in the company's dormitory for me to use until I found a new place to live. He said it was okay for me to use it in the meantime. I decided to take advantage of his kindness. Fortunately, only my clothes were soaked from the rain, so I dried them at a laundromat near the dorm and brought them to my room. As I stored my clothes in the built-in chest and organized my valuables, I gradually began to feel more settled. Stephen had been genuinely kind during our courtship, leading me to believe I was cherished. Even after his behavior changed following our marriage, I kept telling myself he was still a kind person at heart and that things would eventually return to how they used to be. I thought time would help Sarah and me get along better, and with Lauren, conflicts were to be expected between a wife and her mother-in-law. That's what I believed. But being confronted with reality finally woke me up. No matter how much I tried to reach out and make an effort, it was all in vain. They trampled on my feelings, and it was time they faced the consequences. First, I went to Kevin's company and asked for a referral to a lawyer. I obtained divorce papers and completed various procedures. Eventually, I received a text from Steven saying I filed for divorce. With the nuisance gone, he was probably enjoying his life, as there were no calls from Sarah or Lauren. After some peaceful days, Steven reached out again. Seeing his name appear on my mobile phone while I was using my laptop, I decided to ignore it. I had been expecting his call but was too busy to deal with it right now. I decided to leave it be for a while. Eventually, when it went to voicemail, Steven's voice, filled with tears, could be heard. "Nicole, please pick up. I'm in deep trouble." The phone kept ringing incessantly after that, leaving message after message. "Please answer. We need your help. Things are really bad." After leaving a message with his crying voice, he kept calling over and over again. It was so persistent that I finally decided to pick up. "What do you want, Nicole? What have you done? I'm busy. Can you get to the point?" Steven seemed to hesitate on the other end of the phone, taken aback by my tone. Yeah. Well, I was calling about something to do with Sarah's college." He explained the situation, then said they told him she had withdrawn and was no longer a student there. "What's going on?" "Just as they said," I responded calmly. "I was the one who withdrew her. The tuition will be refunded to my bank account, which is helpful." "Withdraw? Don't do things on your own," Steven shouted at me. "Poor thing, Sarah worked hard to get into college." "Oh, really?" I said sarcastically. "I had no idea. With the money you gave her, she was too busy partying until morning and going to concerts. Hardly the behavior of a student studying for exams." "Well, that's..." Steven faltered. "I've never seen Sarah study once, so you chose a college where just paying would get her in, right?" "Sarah studied when Nicole wasn't around. Besides, college is about learning more than just academics," Steven argued back. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did it somehow correct her twisted character a bit?" I replied with sarcasm. Steven asked in a puzzled tone, "Why are you doing this? Do you have a grudge against us or something?" To his strange question, I rattled off quickly. "Sarah told me to get out fast. She said I was useless. Who do you think made it possible for you to study? Do you have any idea what I went through to save that money? To hold a grudge over such words? You're petty." "Well, all right. You have the money in your bank account, right?" "Yes," I replied. Suddenly, the call ended. I sighed and went back to work, but less than an hour later the phone rang again. Reluctantly, I answered, and an infuriated Steven yelled, "Why can't I withdraw the money from Nicole's bank account? Oh, you couldn't?" Pretending not to know, Steven ranted, "When I tried to withdraw at the bank, they refused me at the counter." "That makes sense. You're not the account holder," I replied. "Nicole, where are you now?" "Who knows?" "Please go to the bank for me," Steven pleaded with a desperate voice. "Without the money, it'll be difficult for Sarah to attend another college next year. Give Sarah's money back. Give it back. That $770,000 is my money." I couldn't help but laugh in disbelief. "Considering all the luxury items you buy, shouldn't it be easy for you to cover Sarah's tuition?" Steven stammered, caught off guard, so I threw in a sarcastic comment. "I need the money because I live at the bottom, so the newly promoted Steven can take care of it, or maybe ask your beloved Lauren for help." "Well, a promotion would mean a salary increase, but I'm swamped with debt right now. Mom's living on her old age pension," Steven said. "Swamped with debt? What do you mean?" I asked, surprised by his question. Steven let out an awe. Prideful as he is, Steven didn't want me to know his weaknesses, but perhaps realized that such pretenses were meaningless now. He pleaded, "Both Mom and I are going through a lot, so please don't claim compensation in the divorce trial." "How tough for you, but I'll be claiming the compensation from the divorce trial later. Take care." I made sure to emphasize my point before hanging up. I took action, thinking that if it became known I had withdrawn from college, Steven would attempt to withdraw money from my bank account. If Sarah had been serious, withdrawing her from college would have been heart-wrenching. But since she spent her time partying, I didn't hesitate to choose this path. That evening, I received a voicemail from Sarah. After listening to her berate me, I deleted the message. Later, through the lawyer Kevin introduced, I filed for compensation from Stephen in the divorce trial. As expected, he was difficult. She knows I have no money, yet demands compensation from the divorce trial. What a spiteful person. Why should I pay anything? I supported Nicole with my earnings. I was kind to that failure and didn't even cheat. What's her complaint? Running off with the money after withdrawing from college is unthinkable. I should be the one demanding money. So I decided to wait until Stephen's perspective changed. Months later, Lauren called me. Nicole, help me. She is as arrogant as ever. Some things never change, nor does she intend to. It's been a while. What's the matter, though? I asked deliberately. I've been told to leave the house. Well, that's unfortunate. It's my house after all. What? Lauren sounded shocked. Didn't Stephen tell you? It's the house I got when I started working, given to me by Kevin and Tiffany. Stephen and Sarah were living in an apartment at the time, and I invited them to live with me, so it's in my name. This is the first I've heard of it, Lauren said, dumbfounded on the other end. Is that so? Well, Kevin was furious when he found out I was kicked out and said he'd proceed with selling the house. So I asked him to. I'm not kind enough to let people who kick me out live there for free. So you're really going to sell it? Lauren asked. Yes, there are potential buyers coming this weekend, so please move out by then. That's impossible, Lauren exclaimed. I was kicked out in just 10 minutes, and it was my own house. Lauren faltered in her response. The sale of that house is already finalized. Please move out soon to avoid causing any trouble for the real estate agent and the potential buyers. Oh, is Stephen there? I asked. It seems Stephen was listening in nearby and took the phone from Lauren. What do you want? I took a deep breath and lowered my voice. Who do you think allowed you to live in that house? Stephen was speechless, so I asked with a laugh. How does it feel to hear those words? Damn, I'm not paying any compensation from the divorce trial. See if you can get it, Stephen said. I was told to discuss this matter through a lawyer, I said wearily, but Stephen kept ranting. Nicole, you're just claiming compensation because you can't survive on your low income, right? Beautiful low-life woman, but I'm not paying a dime. Are you sure you should be speaking so confidently? I said, astounded. I have plenty of evidence. The verbal abuse from Stephen, Sarah, and Lauren is recorded and noted in my diary, not to mention the evidence of you forcing me to save while you wasted money on luxury items. You can't deny it. A mother is supposed to care for her children, and a wife should obey her husband, Stephen said. That's right. If you want to defy me, then earn more than I do. The two of them made a fuss in a vulgar tone. Give back the college funds, thief. If you really intend not to return it, I'll sue you. Suit yourself. Enough, both of you, Sarah intervened over the phone, calming Lauren and Stephen. I'm just frustrated with Nicole stealing my precious college funds. Is the lowest a parent could go? Yeah, imagine how shocked I was, looking forward to college. Poor thing. Stephen sounded almost tearful. But it's okay. There's next year, and Dad's salary will increase with his promotion, making life easier. That's true, Stephen exclaimed joyfully. So, let's stop apologizing to Nicole. How about we move to an apartment? If Sarah says so, Lauren muttered reluctantly. Be thankful for Sarah's kindness. Yes, I'm hanging up now. I ended the call, exasperated. The next call came the following day while I was drinking coffee in my room at Kevin's company. It was probably about the same issue. Easy to guess, annoying as it was, I answered, anticipating they might come to the company if I ignored them. Nicole, what have you done? Stephen was sobbing. My promotion got canceled and I was demoted. They told me to go back to being a regular employee and to head to a subcontractor's factory. What's going on? I sighed. You really didn't understand anything, did you? You know the company that's handling general goods and is now trending on social media, right? Of course. It's a famous general goods company that's even expanded overseas. It's one of our company's major clients, Stephen said. You upset the chairman of that company, I said. What? Stephen let out a dumbfounded voice. They wanted to stop doing business, but they reconsidered to avoid causing trouble for your company because of me. You should be thankful you weren't fired." "I've never met the chairman," Stephen said. "The chairman is Kevin," I said. After a brief silence, Stephen's scream echoed. I grimaced at the noise and moved the phone away from my ear. "You should have told me sooner," Stephen said. "Kevin mentioned it before we got married." I was dumbfounded by Stephen, who hardly paid attention. Stephen, now crying less from the shock, changed his tone and pleaded with me. "Please ask Nicole for me. It was just a small argument. If I'm a regular employee, my salary decreases, and Sarah won't respect me anymore." "No, you're responsible for this," I coldly stated. "Is that all? I'm hanging up." "How dare you act so high and mighty, you bottom dweller?" Stephen shouted just as someone knocked on the door. "Excuse me, President. I'm sorry." "It's fine. I'm about to hang up, President," Stephen said, puzzled. I told him with a smile, "Oh, I didn't mention it. I'm the president there." "What? The one with annual sales of $500 million?" Stephen asked. "Exactly. The president of the American branch." Stephen fell silent. I could almost guess the look on his face. People really do go silent from too much shock. "That's a bad joke." "Weren't you earning $20 an hour until recently?" Stephen said. "You must have found that paste up in the bedroom, right? Didn't notice the date? It's from 10 years ago when I first helped out at Kevin's company." "I kept it as a memento," I explained while suppressing a laugh. Stephen was speechless, but soon spat out a resentful line. "Shut up. But it must be nice having a rich relative to make even the useless ones presidents." "You think that's all it takes to become a president?" I retorted, exasperated. "I've been contributing ideas and planning products from the start. Several products I helped bring to meetings were commercialized and became hits. It was for those achievements." "Nicole, you were doing all that behind my back?" Stephen asked. "Do I have to get your permission for everything?" I sighed and explained the situation. "I wanted to help Kevin, so I studied business administration in college. For the past few years, under Kevin's instruction, I've been attending board meetings and taking seminars on management. It's the result of my efforts." Stephen was silent. The funds for Sarah's education were supposed to come from the licensing fees of a patented stationery item I invented. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to cover living expenses and save from my salary alone. "If you have money, then you don't need the compensation from the divorce trial," Lauren chimed in. Apparently, Stephen had put the phone on speaker so Lauren could listen in. Sarah might be listening too. "I just found out, but there's property division in a divorce, right? Nicole has to give half of what she earned to Stephen." "Typical grandma, always knowledgeable." I laughed at Lauren's smugness. "What's so funny?" Lauren asked. "Property division is a right, not an obligation. So it's possible to waive it." Lauren said, tilting her head in confusion over the phone. "I'm opting out so Stephen won't get a dime from me. We can fight it out in court if you like, but I'm sure to win." "What? I won't get anything, even though you're a president?" Sarah sounded disappointed. "Stephen, marry Nicole again. As the president's husband, you could live in luxury. Forget about pride. That's a good idea, Mom." "Nicole, I'm sorry for everything. Let's get back together. I won't treat you like a housekeeper anymore." "Nicole, I won't call you useless anymore, so come back. I want to live in a high-rise apartment for our next place." I was beyond anger and found myself laughing at their audacity. "I can earn my own way, so I don't need a useless husband. You'll be sending me the compensation from the divorce trial monthly. If you can't pay, I'll have your assets seized." Despite their shouting over the phone, I hung up and blocked the contacts of Stephen, Sarah, and Lauren. Stephen ended up harassing other employees at the subcontracting company he was transferred to, causing trouble until he was fired. Chased by living expenses, debt, and the compensation payments, he works nonstop at a factory during the week and a restaurant on weekends. They couldn't live in that house anymore and moved to an old apartment with Sarah and Lauren. Sarah, who planned to enjoy her college life, lost her motivation to study and dislikes working, staying home every day. Lauren doesn't do any housework either, and she and Sarah mock Stephen for his low income, leading to fierce arguments. I secretly saved up and moved to a high-rise apartment. Busy every day, I was worried that other employees wouldn't accept a former rank-and-file worker as CEO, but they welcomed me warmly. The success of the products I helped create played a big part in supporting the company. There's still much to learn, but the executives help me out. I'm happy I can live at my own pace, no longer having to worry about Stephen or Sarah's opinions. Going forward, I plan to take care of myself and enrich both my work and personal